The first cast we're going to demonstrate is the conventional short arm cast. And as we discussed, we will be careful to maintain fit and dimensions with this cast, not to extend beyond the distal palmar crease distally, and not to go proximally farther than 2 fingers from the crease at the elbow to allow for full flexion and full motion of the MCPs. As we discussed, fit and dimensions are the 2 criteria, and those become determined even as we cut and prepare the stockinette. The stockinette needs to be the right width, and we need to cut an appropriate length to achieve proper dimensions. We just need a small hole for the thumb. And the reason I have taken time to roll up the stockinette, as we apply it now, I'm able to support the arm as we roll the stockinette up the arm. And as you notice, there's extra stockinette at the proximal end for comfort, so we have 2 layers for rolling back over the casting tape proximally, and 1 layer for rolling back distally for function. Next, we apply a small piece of 1-inch stockinette. To apply this, we just make a small incision or cut in the stockinette and apply it over the thumb. And then we can fold it back, and then ultimately we will fold this back over the cast for comfort around the thumb. As we apply the padding is going to determine our final dimensions and fit. So we want to take care in application of the padding to maintain dimensions and fit. We also, at this point in time, want our patient to know what position they're to be in, neutral radial ulnar deviation, and apposition of thumb and index finger. So as the thumb and index finger oppose, we have a slight amount of dorsiflexion, so the hand's in a functional position. We take care to cover the ulnar styloid as we pad, and then we proceed to the distal palmar crease. And as we go through the web space, we don't go beyond the distal palmar crease with our padding. Over the ulnar styloid again, and as we proceed up the arm, we're going to compress the padding distally, and we're going to stretch it proximally so that as we go up a cone, we can make sure the padding stays flat on the extremity. So now we've retained our fit and our dimensions, so all we have to do is stay within these lines and lay the casting tape on the padding without applying tension. As with all synthetic materials, gloves are required when using the material to protect the skin from the resin adhering to the skin. Now this is a very important part of the procedure. Because we want to have control for molding the cast, we're going to put on the first half of the roll without water, and then cut the roll, put it aside, and roll back our stockinette, and then apply the second half after dipping in water. So we're just laying the material on, staying within the margins that we've established. Our edges we can fold under, and you'll notice that not applying tension, the cuts just free the material to do what it naturally would tend to do. Now we proceed up the arm, overlapping by 1/2, staying within the margins we've established with our padding. The roll can be set down on the foil pouch, and we can roll back our stockinette proximally around the thumb and distally. So you can see that we are behind the distal palmar crease, and we're at 2 fingers from the crease at the elbow. Now as we apply the second half of the roll, we give water to the material, and this will start activating this for setting. So we're going to start proximally, wrapping back down, distal palmar crease around the backside, and then again we're folding that under as we come around and through the web space so that all of our edges are buried. At this point in time, we can add water to our gloves, and that will enhance the slipperiness for smoothing and molding the cast. The time taken now, we have plenty of time because you can see that the material is soft and supple because we have not dipped the first half of the roll in water. Now as we begin to mold the cast, I'm going to use my thumb to mold around the patient's thenar eminence, and I'm just providing resistance on the back, careful to avoid putting pressure over the ulnar styloid. You'll notice my fingers are not grabbing the cast so that I will not put any unwanted indentations in the cast that could be pressure points. And we're trying to shape the cast to exactly replicate the arm that the cast is on. You can hear that it's starting to take a set, and I am obligated to mold until the resin reaches a sufficient rigidity to not have any memory, so that when I take my hands away, it retains the shape that I want the cast to have. And by putting compression over the end, we are making the end disappear so that there is no rough edge where the end of the cast is. And that's why I cut the material off at the area where I'm going to be applying compression and molding. So now that it is sufficiently set, you can see that we have a flat mold in the lateral projection. We have stayed below the distal palmar crease for complete 90 degrees of flexion of the MCPs. We've got 2 fingers from the crease of the elbow to the end of the cast. which will remain soft because we only have one layer under the stockinette, and then this becomes rigid. And you can see how we've actually even molded in between the radius and the ulna. That's the completed cast.